Hey everybody, welcome to another installment of our portable DAC review series and comparison. Today we have another 7 DACs for your review enjoyment. We have them lined up here from least expensive to most expensive. My apologies for any DACs that we missed in the previous installments. And even though this crop is newer than the last, there's still some that we missed. I don't have access to every single DAC out there, but I think we've put together a really nice group, another 7. So we're really getting up there with all these comparisons. But all these have a very interesting kind of layout, and they have unique sounds, and they have much different offerings, but still kind of provide the same form function. So they are all portable, at least in the fact that they're not a full-size kind of hefty, have-to-move kind of thing. Also, they're priced pretty good. I have them, as I said before, lined up from least expensive to the most expensive. On the far left, we have the Audio Engine D3 that retails for around $149. That one is price dropped. It actually started out a little bit more expensive than that, and they brought the price down. One that's been around for a while, it's a classic that people ask for us to talk about. The D1 by Audio Engine is $169. That's the one to the right of that one. Moving to the right from that, we have the Miniwatt N4. That one retails for $250. Also a price drop from where it kind of came in on the market, a little bit higher than that. Now we have 2 kind of specialty ones that they don't have quite the brand recognition of some of the other guys, but they are a pretty excellent entry nonetheless. The Leckerton UHA6S MK2 is the silver, and the UHA760 is the black one. The AOL International Plus is replacing, or has replaced rather, the AOL International that we reviewed on a previous one. So we have the updated version here, and then on the left the ADL A1. That's the Android version of the X1 that came out earlier. So starting with the Audio Engine D3, this one actually utilizes an AK4396 DAC chip, and it is replacing, or not replacing, but rather it's competing with the old Dragonfly that I have here. You can see the size and the shape are pretty similar. It does the same type of output. It has the same kind of thumb drive size shape to it. For $196, you know, the original Dragonfly dropped in price, but there is a 1.2 version out as well. So this is one of the markets that's probably seeing the most change and the most growth, because you can see a pretty good improvement from your computer's internal output just by plugging one of these lesser expensive things in. I'm talking, I mean, if you're talking about headphone output, it is vastly better. So you can really plug one of these things in, and just if you want some quick improvement to your headphone output to like a typical headphone kind of resistance. Really hard to drive stuff. Isn't really optimized obviously for these kind of small guys, but most headphones fall in just fine in this range. So specifically with this DAC, there's an indicator light. It does do high resolution, but on top of that, the sound itself is pretty good. It's not exactly the same as this. These two actually have a slightly different flavor. I feel that this one has a little more of an energetic edge to it, while this one actually does maybe a little bit better in the bass. But those are very subtle differences and just my preference. So both are good, but they do not have the exact same sound. They have roughly the same output and the same application, but between the two, it's really a choice of preference, I think it'll come down to for most people. But an excellent little DAC for the price, considering it's the least expensive on here. If you're just looking to kind of upgrade your laptop or your computer and you don't want to go through a lot of fuss and cables and whatnot, this is a really good way to go, inexpensive route. Next up is the D1 by Audio Engine. This one also utilizes an AK4396 chip, $169, so it goes up the price a little bit. However, you do get a little bit more for your money on that. Whereas this is just a simple line out at full volume or headphone output. This one has actual DAC, external DAC capabilities, so you can run your analog outs from this, and also kind of a big plus for at least this setup, it has a digital in addition to the USB in. So this can actually act as a full external DAC, which is a kind of, I mean, with line outs instead of just your mini headphone jack here. It's kind of a fun little setup. It utilizes the same chip, and I don't think that for the increase in price you see as much of a sonic change as you kind of get more of these inputs and outputs that allow you to get more versatility out of your DAC, or more application. You know, can stick in different types of rigs and so forth. There's a power light, and then this is the volume adjustment here, so you do have an external knob. Also a very nice piece. If you're looking for something on the less expensive side, this is another great one to check out. It's a little bit bigger than this one, but if you just have like a small desk and you want to send, and like I said, upgrades from your laptop headphone jack, it's not a bad way to go either. It's a very popular item for the company itself. It sells very well for them. Moving up, we have something from based out of Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, the Miniwatt is traditionally known as a company for their small tube amp they made. Well, they moved on into the portable DAC department with the N4. This one uses a TI PCM 1795 chip, so it's a Texas Instrument chip, 250, a little bit more expensive. Leather exterior, so it has a kind of a different feel to it than most of these obvious these ones here that have more of a metallic kind of exterior. But this one is a push button digital volume. On the back, USB in, high res, output left and right, but this has a coax, whereas this one is optical, so it's coaxial digital input. But the same kind of functionality as this if you want to run it out to something else. It's a pretty good DAC. The price it lands it right here in the middle of this one. As far as form and functionality, it's not too bad. It's not my preference out of the bunch, but it definitely does the job that it's assigned, right? So we're moving on to the Leckerton audio. Now these ones are kind of different. For the Leckerton AH6S MK2, this one's actually priced really kind of well for what it is. It's $279. The downsides to this one is that it is limited to 1684 through the USB. There are two other connections on the back that go up to 2496, but the USB is somewhat limited compared to the rest of these guys. So there's that. This one has an analog volume control, and both of the two Leckertons up here have utilized the Cirrus Logic CS4398. Now the main drawback to this one is also kind of maybe a benefit to some. This one, the volume the output is quite low. I find it to be very good for in-ear monitors. The sweep as you turn this up is really good for in-ears. It's nice and even, and it doesn't blast you. And at the lowest setting, this is not even like ridiculously loud, which is good because if you have the gain up on some of these guys and you blast your eardrums out, it's so loud. So I find both of these Leckertons to be very, very good with in-ears. Just from a standpoint, the output seems good. Now that also can be a drawback for those looking to drive really hard to drive full-size headphones. They don't necessarily have the highest output of the bunch. Really what happens is these two guys, especially this one, you start to see a major uptick in the output. But for the price, for the ins and outs, as you look at this one, you once again can see there's both an optical and a coax digital input, plus a gain switch, which gives you a little bit of versatility. But even on the high, it's still doesn't match the output of this one. But that being said, like in-ear monitors, these things are really fun. Now he decided to keep the same chip for this one. This is a step up. So for the UHA 760. That one runs $400, $399. Same chip. He moved it over to a digital volume control. Now there is also, he did a couple of other changes here. There is an X feed. There's a 3-way gain switch and a 3-way X crossfeed on the front, but then you can see he eliminated, there's a USB input, but he eliminated the other 2 digital. So there's not as many inputs, but the price went up. Now, for me, the sound between these two is pretty comparable. I didn't see a massive amount of difference between the two. So if you're looking at something that you want the crossfeed function, really that's where the money goes on this one, in my opinion. The crossfeed is good. It's subtle. It's not too ridiculous. Sometimes with the crossfeed you turn them on and it's unlistenable. There's too much whatever going on, trying to make the stereo channels sound less separated, right? With this one, the crossfeed kind of worked very well in that it moved it from like a hard pan left to more in front of your face. That's a pretty cool achievement for a headphone. So I was kind of impressed with it. So it's not nothing, but again, it's quite a price jump to this other model. He does offer both of these on his website, and he offers op-amp options. So if you like to tinker, with the sound and think that you want to swap out the op-amp for a different op-amp, he offers those options. These are the standards, these 2 op-amps that I listen to. But there's a lot of options, and that's not, the op-amp switching is not always an option that these guys have. In fact, it's probably one of the only guys out there that offers that. But all in all, small, compact, nice little ones. I mean, they're almost the compact ones of the group that have their own battery in there, and they work quite well for in-ears. And will handle most headphones. Just you might want to look other places if you're going full size, big resistance kind of stuff. Even with this one with a 3-way gain at its max, it's still not quite the power of the replacement here, which brings us to the next one, the AOL International $599. Surprisingly, it actually uses the same Cirrus Logic CS4398 DAC chip as these 2 guys. So it's the same DAC chip. This one is an update in that from the old International, which I have here, you can see that they switched out for a, instead of having this, the old tool kind of wall wart power supply, they've actually updated to have USB charging, and from the mini jack they went to the smaller one that's more common with cell phones now, which are both nice upgrades. In addition, this is kind of a small thing, but I kind of find it humorous. This arrow was an out, and this was up, and this was down. And for me, I sometimes got that confused. This, at least now, they changed the label to be a headphone jack, which is a little bit simple. Because even just when I'm like really quickly shifting things, sometimes I'm just like plugging into the wrong one. It's like a small thing, but a good improvement. In any case, the plus also stands for more compatibility with the Android platform. They have these special cables here that help with the process. The OTG cable. This one isn't from this manufacturer specifically, but an OTG cable partnered with this gives it a much more of a good opportunity to pair with the Android platform. Which is really prevalent. It's a nice thing to have. Still, not every device always works. There's a lot of diversity within the Android platform, so it's kind of hard to get everything to work with everything. There's a couple of software out there that will let you kind of circumvent the USB driver that's in some of the devices, but it can be a hassle. However, this is definitely a step in the right direction. If everyone just check it out on the site. There's plenty of websites out there that will let you know if this works. But if you have a new modern one, for the most part, they all work pretty well. It's the same deal with this one here. This one is made specifically for Android, hence the namesake, the A1. The X1 is the other version. So with the A1, it's $599 as well. It utilizes the Cirrus Logic CS4392K. 98 This one is the 92K. From a feature set, we are seeing an upgrade into the audiophile file type called DSD. This one actually can do DSD2 and DSD regular. So it does upsize, 2 sampling, and DSD is a very popular audiophile file type. It's kind of hard to come by. However, it's a nice to have if you have those things. I think the files can sound really good. It stands out from the pack in that none of these do DSD except for this one. So that's a unique feature set. Now, since these two are closer in price point, they're both about $600 right now. I mean, I think it's worthwhile to compare these two back to back a little bit more. This one does not have a gain setting switch. So what you got here in the volume pot is all you got when you run up and down. So for in-ear monitors, I found it does work. It's not too bad. It's not like too powerful where it blows your ears out, and it's like a very large jump from small to large volume. However, once again, the output's pretty decent. I would say it's pretty good at the top end to drive most headphones, except for the really hard to drive ones. So it has good gain all by itself, but this one, the International Plus, is different in that it's very powerful, and it also includes balanced RSA jack, it's called here. The balanced headphone output, which is a big plus if you're really going into kind of like the deep dive with cables and going balanced with your headphones. I don't think that this is a bad thing at all. It's not, every application is different, but the balanced is fun to play around with if you're into the hobby. You can go balanced into in-ear monitors even now. So a balance is just one of those fun things that's fun to toy around with, just like the DSD is on this one. However, this one has a pretty good output to handle almost every headphone. I haven't personally tried it on the hardest to drive HE6 by Hi-Fi Man, but that one I don't think is as popular as it once was, and you don't see people using as much because even Hi-Fi Man itself is kind of come down into easier to drive headphones. So, as far as the sound goes between these two, I think that this one kind of had a little bit more of a kind of a gentle mid-tone texture to it, whereas this one really pulled out more detail from the highs. Again, you could land a preference call on either of these two. Some people might prefer the sound of this one, and other people might prefer the sound of this one. It's really just, hey, is DSD an issue? What headphone are you using? Will this one handle it? This one definitely handles in-ear monitors well. I will say that much. The old International was my preference, my go-to amp for in-ear monitors for a very long time, and this one follows suit pretty closely. With in-ear monitors, it is dead quiet on the lowest gain setting. Not a peep, not a hiss, nothing. So it's probably, for how powerful the actual amp is, the quietest with in-ear monitors and a good volume sweep on the low end. So when you talk about headphone versatility from in-ear monitors to hard to drive full sides, this one is probably the one that has the most matching for the different type of headphones that are out there. Powerful, graceful, that kind of a thing. But again, if you have an average headphone, it might be a toss-up sonically which one. It might not be a huge difference. Some people who love music might not be able to even tell the difference between those two, but they are slightly different. Now, if there is one other DAC that I recently reviewed that you can check out here for the full-size, full-run review. It's a separate video called the Centrance Hi-Fi Mate. Centrance Hi-Fi Mate falls into this category along the same lines. It's actually a little bit more expensive at $6.99, but it offers so the things that make it different from these offerings is that it actually has tonal switches. So you can boost the treble, you can boost the bass, you can change the gain, and you can change the impedance setting for the amp. All that being said, the reason that one is special, in my opinion, it also is Apple friendly, I should mention that, is that even with the tonal switches, it does a great job with sound staging. For having switches in it, which is the reason a lot of these guys don't want to bother, is because sometimes it can mess up too many switches in the feed path. It's just one more thing for it to go wrong in the signal path, right? Well, this one has stuff in the signal path, and I still think it does an excellent job with fidelity and sound staging. It's a pretty good piece. It's $100 more. Again, any of these three are good for their price. These kind of flow good as far as their price point are concerned. But when you get to these top tier guys around the 600 mark, that one is a little bit different in that it has a good sound, more adjustments, but also Apple compatibility. But sonically, I think these would be like the three current flavors that you can choose from, that you can make your choice of. None of them clearly outpaces the other two in terms of sonics, but they all do a pretty good job, but they are not the same. But like I said, the feature set kind of just takes over. So, and now if a lot of the guys often wonder and they ask me, what is the absolute best that I've heard to date? And I did get something in for review that I'm pretty excited about that I have not presented just yet, but it is an external DAC in a way, but if you want something portable with the absolute pinnacle, or what I consider to be the best for right now, I think that this particular player that came out is perhaps the best sounding thing. This is the Alston Current AK240. Now, it doesn't require a computer to play music. It's actually a player, just like an iPod would. But it is their top of the line. It does a balanced output from the top, but under its own unique jack, volume control player all in one. But it is pretty spectacular when it comes to detail and tonal texture. It's kind of the leading edge right now when it comes to digital playback at this size. They really did something very special with it. It is great as a source if you run a line out from it, and straight to headphones too. I mean, it just jams with texture and high fidelity playback. It's got a really, really nice, crisp, detailed output. However, it's ridiculously, not ridiculously, but it is very, very expensive, and it is more than like 4 times expensive as most of these guys are. So if you're looking for the very best, this may be something you want to check out. But the rest of these guys fall underneath the grand, so it's a little bit more feasible from a cost standpoint. So that is the newest update to the portable DAC series. It's good stuff coming out. Very exciting time to be an audiophile. The price is still coming down. New stuff is coming out. It's got a very good product cycle. Everything's kind of sounding really good and really nice, and more features, and just being more conscious of what people want in this space, which is really all you can ask for from a product like that. So anyways, thanks for watching very much, guys. I will see you at the next one.